Growing up, I am the shadow that follows the light. My brother, Julian, is the light. He is the sun around which my parents, Martha and David, orbit with a devotion that borders on religious. In our house, Julian's laughter is a symphony, while my voice is merely background noise. Every trophy on the mantel belongs to him. Every framed photograph features his winning smile. I am the one holding the camera, cropped out of the frame before the memory even develops. I remember my 10th birthday. I want a telescope. I want to see the stars because they are the only things further away than my father's attention. On the morning of my birthday, Julian mentions he wants a new mountain bike. My parents spend the entire morning at the bike shop. When they return, Julian is riding a $1,000 cycle through the backyard. I get a pair of socks and a happy birthday whispered between Julian's laps around the patio. I learn early that my value is measured in how much I can give, while Julian's is measured in how much he can take. I become the reliable one. I get the straight A's because I have to. I work 2 jobs through college because there is no tuition fund for me. Julian's entrepreneurial spirit, which is just a fancy way of saying he gambles on penny stocks, drained the savings years ago. My parents don't see a problem with this. They see it as a family investment. I stay silent. I build my life in the dark. I work as a forensic accountant, a job that requires me to see the patterns people try to hide. It is a lonely profession, but I am used to loneliness. I buy a small, modest condo. I save every penny. I am the invisible pillar holding up a house that doesn't want me. But the illusion of the perfect family is a fragile thing. My parents are getting older. The family home, a sprawling Victorian estate that has been in our name for 3 generations, is worth millions. It is my grandfather's legacy. He always told me, "Leo, you have the steady heart. You keep the roots." I believed him. I thought that, for once, I was the one seen. Then comes the Sunday dinner that changes everything. Julian arrives in a tailored suit, smelling of expensive cologne and desperation. He has a new business venture in Dubai. He needs capital. My mother gazes at him with such intense adoration it makes my chest ache. My father claps him on the shoulder, his eyes bright with pride. I sit at the end of the table, picking at my roast beef. I am the ghost at the feast. I don't know it yet, but by the time the dessert is served, my entire history will be erased. The golden child is about to do more than just shine. He is about to burn everything I have ever loved to the ground. The air in the dining room feels thick, like it's being pumped full of nitrogen. Julian leans back, his teeth flashing in the candlelight. He looks like a shark that just realized the cage is open. He tells my parents about the opportunity of a lifetime. He needs $3 million to secure the partnership. The room goes silent, but it isn't a shocked silence. It's an expectant one. My father clears his throat. He doesn't look at me. He looks at the crystal chandelier above us. "We've discussed it, Julian," he says softly. "The house. It's the only asset we have left of that size. We're transferring the deed to you. You can use it as collateral for the loan." The fork drops from my hand. It clatters against the china like a gunshot. I feel the blood drain from my face, leaving me cold and hollow. "The house," I whisper. "That's the family legacy. Grandfather wanted it to stay in the family. You promised I would always have a home here." My mother finally looks at me, but her eyes are hard. They are the eyes of a woman protecting her cub, and I am the intruder. "Leo, don't be selfish," she says. "Julian is on the verge of greatness. He's going to make us all millionaires. You have your little job. You're stable. Julian needs this." "I trusted you," I say, my voice trembling. "I've spent 10 years paying for your medical bills. I paid off the back taxes on this house last year, so the state wouldn't seize it. I did that with my savings. Julian scoffs, waving a hand as if dismissing a fly. And we're grateful, little brother. Really? But this is the big leagues. I'll pay you back 10 times over once the Dubai deal closes. Stop thinking so small. That was the moment everything changed. I look at their faces, the blind greed in Julian's eyes, the pathetic devotion in my parents'. They aren't just giving him the house. They are giving him my security, my history, and my future. They are betting my sweat and blood on his empty promises. The next morning, I receive a notification from my bank. My name has been removed from the joint emergency account I shared with my parents, the one I funded. Julian has been added as the sole cosigner. I checked the property records online. The deed transfer was filed weeks ago. They didn't even wait for the dinner to tell me. They had already signed me out of existence. I call my father, my heart hammering against my ribs. He picks up on the fourth ring. Leo, I'm busy. Julian is taking us to look at penthouses. He says we won't need the old house soon anyway. Dad, you can't do this. I plead. He's going to lose it all. I've looked into his partners. They don't exist. It's a shell company. You're just jealous, my father snaps. You've always been the bitter one. Julian is a visionary. You're just a bean counter. Don't call us again until you can be happy for your brother. The line goes dead. I am standing in my kitchen, surrounded by the silence of a life I built alone. I realize then that I am not just invisible. I am an obstacle. To them, I am a safety net they no longer think they need. They have cut the ropes, and they are cheering as I fall. I spend the next 3 days in a haze of grief. I don't go to work. I don't eat. I sit in the dark, watching the headlights of cars pass by on the street outside. I feel like a ghost. I feel like I have already died, and the world is just moving on without me. I trusted them with my heart, and they traded it for a dream that doesn't even have a foundation. I remember the way my mother used to tuck Julian in, even when he was a teenager, while I sat in the hallway doing my homework by the glow of the nightlight. I remember the way my father would take Julian to baseball games, leaving me at the library because Leo likes books anyway. I always thought if I did enough, if I was good enough, they would finally see me. But the truth is a jagged pill. They saw me perfectly. They saw a resource. They saw a quiet, dutiful son who would never complain, while they poured everything into the golden child. I was never a son to them. I was a life insurance policy they decided to cash in early. The emotional collapse is total. I find myself crying in the shower, the water masking the sound of my sobbing. I feel small. I feel like a child again, standing at the edge of the playground, watching everyone else play a game I don't know the rules to. They think I wouldn't fight back. They think I'm too weak, too reliable to ever cause a scene. On the fourth day, the sadness turns into something else. It's a cold, sharp clarity. It starts in the pit of my stomach and spreads to my fingertips. I am a forensic accountant. I find things that people want to stay buried. I have spent my career looking at the trail of breadcrumbs left by the greedy and the arrogant. Julian is many things, but he is not careful. He is a man who believes his own lies so deeply he forgets they are lies. He thinks he's outsmarted me. He thinks he's taken everything. But Julian doesn't realize that when you take everything from someone who has nothing left to lose, you create the most dangerous person in the world. I open my laptop. The blue light reflects in my eyes, which are finally dry. I don't need their love anymore. I don't even need their apology. I need the truth to be the only thing left standing when the dust clears. I start to type. I start to dig. And what I find is far worse than a simple bad investment. I spend the next week living on caffeine and spite. My apartment becomes a war room. I use my professional access to pull records that Julian thought were encrypted behind layers of offshore nonsense. I am not just looking for the Dubai deal. I am looking for the history of his success. What I discover makes my blood run cold. Julian hasn't just been gambling with my parents' money. He's been running a sophisticated Ponzi scheme for years. He's been taking investments from my parents' friends, their neighbors, and even members of our local church. He's been using the money from one person to pay off the interest of another, all while skimming off the top to fund his designer lifestyle. The Dubai deal isn't a new venture. It's a desperate attempt to cover a massive hole in his books. He needs the house to get a bridge loan to pay back a group of very angry investors who are starting to ask questions. If he doesn't get that money, he isn't just going bankrupt, he's going to prison. But that's not the most devastating part. As I dig deeper into the house's deed transfer, I find a document buried in the filings. My parents didn't just transfer the house to Julian. They signed a document giving him full power of attorney over all their affairs. They gave him the keys to their lives. And Julian, being the person he is, has already used it. He has taken out a second mortgage on the house in my parents' names without telling them. He has drained their retirement accounts. He has even signed them up as personal guarantors for his business loans. If Julian fails, my parents won't just be homeless. They will be millions of dollars in debt with no way out. I sit back, my head spinning. I could stop this. I could call them right now and show them the proof. I could save them. But then I remember the look on my mother's face when she called me selfish. I remember my father telling me not to call again. They chose their king. Now they get to live in his kingdom. But I realize that if I just let him fail, I lose the house too. I lose the only thing that connects me to my grandfather. I need a way to save the legacy without saving the thief. I find a small, overlooked detail in the original trust my grandfather set up. It's a standard of care clause. It states that if the primary trustees, my parents, are found to be under undue influence or are incapable of exercising sound fiduciary judgment, the secondary beneficiary, me, can petition for an emergency injunction to freeze all assets. The trick is simple. I don't need to sue Julian. I don't need to fight him in a way he expects. I just need to make sure that the golden child shines so brightly that he sets off every alarm in the building. I need him to think he's won so completely that he becomes reckless. I start making a few phone calls, not to my parents, not to Julian. I call the investors. I call the bank. I call the city's fraud department, but I do it anonymously. I plant the seeds. I whisper the word audit into the right ears. Then I wait. I need the climax to be public. I need the world to see what I've seen for 30 years. The plan is in motion. Julian thinks he's at the finish line. He's planning a legacy gala at the family estate to announce his new partnership. He invited the whole town. He even sent me an invitation, probably as a final twist of the knife. I look at the gold embossed card. Julian Vane requests the pleasure of your company. I smile. It's the first time I've smiled in weeks. He wants an audience. I'm going to give him one he'll never forget. The day of the gala arrives. The Victorian estate is draped in silk and light. Valet parkers line the driveway. My parents are dressed in clothes they can't afford, beaming at the guests like royalty. Julian is center stage, holding a glass of vintage champagne, holding court with the local elite. I arrive late. I don't wear a suit. I wear my work clothes, slacks, and a button-down. I look like exactly what I am, the man who does the math. I walk through the front door, and the air seems to chill around me. My mother sees me, and her smile falters, but she doesn't come over. She turns her back. Julian, however, can't resist. He struts over, a smug grin plastered on his face. Leo, you actually showed up. Come to see how the winners live. I came to see the house one last time. Julian, I say calmly. My voice is steady, which seems to irritate him. Good choice, because by tomorrow, it's going to be the headquarters for Vane International. Mom and Dad are moving into a condo in the city. It's for the best, really. This place is too big for them. Did you tell them about the second mortgage, Julian? I ask, loud enough for a nearby couple to hear. Or the fact that the Dubai partners are currently being investigated for money laundering? Julian's face goes from smug to ashen in a heartbeat. He grabs my arm, his grip bruising. Shut up, he hisses. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to ruin this because you're a failure. I'm not the one who forged Dad's signature on the guarantor forms. Julian, I say, and this time, I don't whisper. The music is still playing, but the people closest to us have stopped talking. My father walks over, his face flushed with anger. Leo, I told you not to come here and cause trouble. Julian has worked hard for this. Leave now. Dad, I'm not here to cause trouble, I say, pulling a folder from my bag. I'm here to serve you, because I'm the only one who can. At that exact moment, the front door opens. It isn't more guests. It's 4 men in dark suits. One of them is a sheriff's deputy. The room goes dead silent. The music cuts out. Julian Vane, the lead man, asks, "We're from the district attorney's office. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of securities fraud and grand larceny. We also have a court-ordered injunction to seize this property as part of an ongoing investigation into a multi-state Ponzi scheme." The silence that follows is deafening. Julian drops his champagne glass. It shatters on the hardwood floor, the same floor I spent my weekends polishing while he was out partying. The sound is like a bell tolling. This is a mistake, my mother screams, clutching Julian's arm. Our son is a businessman. Leo, tell them. Tell them it's a mistake. I look at her. I look at the woman who called me selfish for wanting to keep the roof over my head. It's not a mistake, Mom. I'm the one who gave them the files. I'm the one who did the audit. The gasps from the crowd are like a wave. Julian tries to bolt, but the deputy is faster. They tackle him right there in the middle of the ballroom, under the chandelier. They cuff him in front of the people he tried to swindle. My father looks at me, his eyes wide with horror. You did this? To your own brother? You destroyed our family. No, Dad, I say, stepping forward. I hand him the folder. Julian destroyed the family. I'm just the one who documented it. But here's the trick you didn't see coming. I point to the last page in the folder. I filed an emergency petition for guardianship over your estate 3 days ago, citing Julian's fraud and your lack of oversight. Because I'm the secondary beneficiary in grandfather's trust, the judge granted me temporary control of the house and all remaining assets to prevent further loss. I look around the room at the stunned faces of the elite and the broken expressions of my parents. The house is mine now, not Julian's, not yours, mine, and I'm closing it down, tonight. The police lead Julian away. He's screaming, calling me a traitor, a snake, a nobody. My mother falls to her knees, sobbing. My father just stands there, looking at the floor, finally seeing the patterns I've seen my whole life. I don't feel the surge of joy I expected. I just feel a profound sense of peace. The golden child is gone. The light has gone out. And for the first time, in the quiet, cool shadow of the truth, I can breathe. The gala ends not with a toast, but with an exodus. The guests flee like rats from a sinking ship, terrified that their own names might be in the files I handed to the DA. My parents are left standing in the wreckage of their vanity. Where are we supposed to go? My father asks, his voice small and cracked. He looks old. He looks like a man who just realized he traded his soul for a counterfeit coin. I've arranged for a small apartment for you. I say, it's modest. It's paid for. But the house stays with me. It's going to be a museum for grandfather's work, a place where things are preserved, not sold. My mother looks at me, her face wet with tears. "Leo, we're so sorry. We didn't know." "You did know," I say gently. "You just didn't care. You wanted the dream more than you wanted the truth. And you wanted Julian more than you wanted me." I walk to the front door and hold it open. I am not being cruel. I am being honest. The reliable son has finally stopped holding up the weight of their lies. "I'll have your things sent to the apartment tomorrow," I say. They walk out into the night, two small figures disappearing into the dark. I stand on the porch of the house that was almost lost. I look up at the stars. They are bright, constant, and indifferent to the dramas of men. I go back inside and lock the door. The house is empty. The silence is absolute. I walk through the rooms, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel like a ghost. I feel like the owner. Julian will go to prison. My parents will live a quiet, humble life, and I will finally start living mine. I realize today that I didn't need their light to see. I had my own all along. Sometimes you have to burn down the family tree to save the roots. Sometimes you have to let the golden child fail, so the invisible child can finally be seen. And as I turn off the lights one by one, I realize the most important truth of all. Sometimes losing your family is the price of finding yourself.